Well, this is Soul Sisters. We're here with Domino Kirke, and we're telling New York transportation nightmare stories.
Oh, God.
Just to start the morning off, right? Domino, what's going on?
Oh, not much. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks so much.
Thank you for coming here. So you have a new album coming out in August, correct?
Yes.
So is this like a moment of doing a bunch of press or the beginning of a long here you'll do it in drips
no,
and
it's
drops?
the beginning.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I know. It's just the beginning.
So you're learning how to talk about the album still?
Yeah, and just talk in public.
Yeah.
It's a whole other thing. Singing is one thing, but speaking is another.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I feel like you're such a multi-hyphenate personality and talent that I would assume that you're good at all sorts of performative things, but yeah, I guess just speaking off the cuff is a whole nother animal.
Yeah. Like charming banter on stage,
right.
Not my thing. I don't have an instrument to tune with this particular outfit, which always helps, but yeah.
Do you plan it out? Like, do you think about you just...
It's awful.
Go, yeah.
I just look at one of my bandmates. I'm like, just say something.
Just like tell an embarrassing story
just
about each other.
Just a joke, a terrible joke will suffice.
Yeah. Are you going to be performing? Like, do you have dates lined up? Or
we have some tours that we're looking to that are coming together right now in Europe.
Oh, in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, and some shows here too, but a little bit more sort of spread out.
Yeah. Okay. So what happens with the other business when you go into music drive?
Well, the other business sort of runs itself at this point, which is why I was able to finally make a full-length record and not an EP. Because EPs were like short and quick, they didn't take long to make, and you can only do so much with 4 songs.
Right.
And but it was nice, and I was getting my feet wet, but I also had this kind of other baby that I was raising.
Yeah.
And now
literal baby and
business
baby.
And
Let's just say you're a doula.
I'm a doula.
Created
yes.
a business.
Yeah. So we have a collective,
village.
like a community center that we started like 5 years ago, and I've been a doula for 8 years. And it was sort of the way I was able to afford, like, being on call. There was always big gaps of time where I could be creative in between. I was like, either I'm going to like take another job, which will completely deplete me from, and I wouldn't creatively, I'll be like done. Or I was going to find something that I could do in between, and doula work actually was like the perfect blend of like being able to be sort of service and like in the healing arts and like not be like a debaucherous musician.
Is that what you felt like you were?
And I was never debaucherous, but I saw that I could very well be.
Yeah.
I also grew up in like a family where my father was in a rock band, and like I saw and heard every story, and like really
so you knew about the debauchery.
I lived it.
It was there. Yeah.
No, the debauchery in the 70s too is like a whole other piece.
Yes, another level.
So I think I always knew that I would want to have some sort of cushion or some other like safe zone that would like keep me grounded enough so that I could be like a respectful mother and like not be that mum that just sort of hires a nanny and like goes on tour for like 5 months, which I could be, and I know plenty of like amazing parents that have to do that. But to have the choice was really great, so I really created a career where I could have both. And they do exist.
It is a dream.
So us, you're living the dream. I mean, we just met you, and I know everyone's lives are complicated. But what you're doing professionally and creatively is like...
Not that either one of us would be comfortable being in that field.
No.
But
be surprised. We've all been born before, so we all know how to be there when someone is giving birth. I tell that to all the we train doulas now, and so that's sort of... I'm not really on call anymore, but I'm training doulas, and that's really easy to schedule, and like it makes it so I can actually have some semblance of a music career. So, and like, we have these 20-year-olds who are like, I haven't had a kid, but but I want to be a doula. I'm like, well, if you are at all in touch and you were born because you're here, you're going to be able to do this. It's just about being more present than you've ever been. Right. And just
meaning you think that we can still access something from our own birth.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh, that's a whole other podcast.
I know. I'm sure we can get into it.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a doula podcast.
Yeah, let's do it. Can we do that?
We'll do a spin-off.
There's no music involved.
You can sing us a little song about
I'll sing.
I
mean, I do sing to the women in labor. So,
really?
Or
do
people
you?
in labor. Yeah. Oh, sometimes amazing. They like their hair brushed.
Yeah.
They like a
whatever
song sung
need.
to them. Yeah. Whatever.
I have a question. We're obsessed with your whole family, and we're very much
You can have
big
them.
fans of yeah. Well, Lola in particular, we're huge Mozart and the Jungle fans,
Oh,
and
awesome.
she's like the best.
Yeah.
And I know that she's also a musician, and she has an EP out recently, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You were the musician first before her,
Yeah.
right?
I'm 8 years older than her.
Okay.
So I was like,
So you were doing it.
I was
when
doing
she was
it
very
when she
little.
was a little bean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did she kind of get into it through you?
I mean, she would hate that I
I
would
know.
say that.
It's okay.
But Lola,
just
like
honest.
in her own right, of course, like learned how to play every instrument, like
Yeah.
over the course of a year,
Uh-huh.
and like just had the time. And I joke with her, I'm like, I had a kid at your age.
Right.
You have time to like go on road trips and learn how to play guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish, you know. So she's I don't know, she's really worked hard to be able to be like a multi-instrumentalist. Like she really can
Mhm.
just pick up the bass, pick up the guitar, and play like
Pick
a
up the
great
oboe.
set of music. Yeah, set of music. And the oboe. She can't play the oboe, but she's an amazing air oboist.
Right.
Is that the word? Oboist?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, she was always acting in school, and
Mhm.
she was in musicals, and she had a band in college.
Okay.
And I always knew that she was like, you know, gonna like try to, you know, pull it together. But
Uh-huh.
the timing was great after Mozart.
Right.
You know, she was more well known as an actor,
Uh-huh.
and now she, you know, she has a fan base.
Right. So were you giving her advice as a musician?
Not really.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. Just like we play such different music. Her music's a lot more
true.
sort of, it's just like country and
Mhm,
sweet,
mhm.
and mine's just a little more. I don't know. It's a little sadder, a little like just more. I don't know. They're like little art pieces.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
they're very intricate, very lyric heavy, and
Mhm.
like you don't really remember the hook.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Like,
Has your music always been that way, or has it evolved into that?
no, it's sort of all. I tried to do sort of this other thing when I was signed to Mark Ronson's label like
Right.
years ago, but
Like
that
the
was
pop thing?
the pop thing, like
Yeah.
the sexy girl thing.
Uh-huh. How did that feel?
Awful.
Yeah.
And I would, you know, wear the right outfit and get just drunk enough, you
Uh-huh.
know, and like stay after the show and like just flirt enough with that they maybe would write something, and
Mhm.
it just I felt kind of awful all the time. But
Yeah.
the
Yours
songs
feels awful.
weren't mine
Yeah.
either, so I wasn't writing them, which
Yeah.
also of course felt a little bit just very insincere. Like performing, I learned how to perform when I played with Domino, the band,
Yeah.
and touring, and like that was something I had no skills in terms of like touring and just like turning on for an audience.
Right.
So
So I
you
was
were
always just like no high heel, like I would wear like no shoes and just stand there, and sometimes I'd cry and like really just like sort of like a bleeding heart on stage. Yeah. Before I joined the band, because I would just play like Pete's Candy Store and Joe's Pub. I was like
Uh-huh.
16 and like playing like singer-songwriter song, you know.
But it
songs.
didn't feel good, you're saying?
No, that was great. And then
Yeah.
then Mark saw me perform with my friend Jordan, and he signed us. And he was like, "Now you're going to do this." And I was like, "Oh, like, okay." And it didn't last. I ended up falling in love with a bluegrass musician and who I met in the subway.
Really?
And like got
He was
pregnant, moved to
playing?
Virginia, started playing a washboard. It was really fun. I had a baby and stopped playing music for a few years.
So in that relationship, it wasn't a musical
It was
interaction
with the
with the bluegrass.
yeah, it was. He played banjo, and in order to play with him, I either played spoons or a washboard. So it was musical, and I wrote and I sang, but it was nice to get away from sort of like
High heels and
Yeah.
and Us magazine.
So,
Right.
but what was that decision exactly? Was it, I'm going to follow love because this doesn't feel right?
It was more. It wasn't like Yeah, it was pretty unconscious. I just couldn't see myself go. Like it was sort of the era of Amy Winehouse
Yeah.
and Mark's first record, and we were sort of the baby of that
Uh-huh.
little crew.
Yeah.
And I saw where it was going, and you know, we played Lily Allen's first US tour with her, and that was really fun. But I just always felt like I was being a little insincere, like it didn't quite fit. And when I met my son's father, I just sort of, it was like a quick escape. It was just a way out.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
interesting because thinking about Amy and even Lily Allen, my impression of her back then is those were women that weren't necessarily trying to fit into something.
right.
No.
You know?
Well, they were
But a hard
writing.
party.
They were writing their songs.
Got it.
And
Yeah.
that
makes
was
sense.
more like I was writing with this guy Jordan, but
Yeah.
really more just the front woman.
Right.
Where
right.
Amy and Lily were writing their own stuff, and it had been like a very long relationship with Mark. I think they
Right.
development and just
Totally.
they were breaking the year that we were just starting.
Yeah.
So it was also like our just the timing was weird, and we were sort of we were just sort of like the bottom of the barrel when it came to it.
Yeah.
So I just decided that it was time for me to take a break from that, but not necessarily playing music.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got pregnant, and I was like, oh, okay, now I'm going to take a real break. Although I did play a washboard on like a 9-month pregnant belly,
Did
which
you?
was really funny, which is why I'm convinced my son is like a crazy person. Just having like
that would sound really intense
metal through the womb.
amniotic.
Yeah. He loves loud music, like loud
yeah.
anything. He falls asleep the louder the music,
Really?
the more soothed he becomes.
Well, it's
fun.
perfect for a New York City baby.
Yeah. He loves
For
his
person.
city.
Yeah. So when you moved down there, it didn't feel like you were giving up on the dream. It was just reprioritizing and shifting.
Just
And you're
reposition.
young,
Yeah.
like what, 21?
At that point, I was 25 when I had my son, so I was 23 when I met his dad, and in Virginia for like a year,
Okay.
like back and forth.
So you never needed to say to yourself, what would I want to do alternately than music? That was never...
No, because it sort of found me. Like I never had a plan B other than music. I used to teach gyrotonic, which is like Pilates. I was always sort of into wellness and healing and like body work, but I never saw myself making it a career. I was really into babies and really into pregnant women since I was a kid. I was always very protective and very tuned into like the pregnant belly.
Where do you think that came from?
No idea.
Yeah.
Just like really, and told myself one day that I would maybe go to midwifery school.
Oh.
But then I had my son and realized like the process was very, just so intense and life-changing, and I thought I would want to see other women giving birth before I went to school for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so a friend of mine who was a doula said, you should try this. Like, it's a great, it's by no means a hobby. But it makes sense for you because you seem to have these lulls in your life, where like friends of mine in huge bands would come off tour and like go work at a coffee shop.
Right.
I'm like, you're in that band, and you just made my cappuccino, and I don't understand why you're here.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's also like getting back into your community as well, and like just, I don't know, grounding after tour. So for me to try it, I did. I went to a few births, and music wasn't really at the forefront of my mind. I was just like trying it, and it just took over.
Yeah. What year was this about?
2010.
Okay. And were you living in Brooklyn then?
My son was 6 months old.
Okay.
So I was in Brooklyn, yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine you had a doula for your own...
I didn't. Which
You had
is
a
sort of
midwife?
why... Yes, I had a midwife.
And that's when you were like, I wish I had a doula.
I had an assistant, and a midwife's assistant is someone who assists the midwife.
Right.
But she's not really there to sort of go like forehead to forehead with me, which is like what a doula is really for the laboring person, not for the midwife. And so the assistant was there, but she just didn't know how to connect to me, and she didn't have the best touch, and she was going through stuff. I could feel like she was going through stuff in her own life. And I had a small apartment. You could feel everything, and like pregnant women are like superheroes. Like they feel like really everything in the room. They smell everything as well, which is crazy. So you smell, you wear real deodorant to a birth, or you'll be in trouble.
Not the organic stuff.
No like crystals under the arm. No.
The mother's like, you're wearing Toms.
Yeah,
Like,
get out of here, leave. So she was wonderful as a medical student, but she wasn't there for me, and I felt that gap in the care. I think it was really the reason why I went so gung-ho into the work, because I really wanted to be like what I didn't have.
Yeah.
And I wasn't very close to my mum at the time, and so I didn't have that. And I find a lot of people aren't close to their mums or don't have that maybe back in the day it was like grandmothers and aunts and sisters attending births, but it was always women.
Yeah. I want to ask you about something that you said in a video that I saw you in once. You said that you come from a family of narcissistic women.
Oh.
But
yeah.
Well, I was going to say it doesn't sound like you are terribly narcissistic in terms of when you're talking about what you do as a doula and what inspired you to do that. But maybe you are. Maybe that's somehow an important part of it.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think I'm a narcissist.
Okay.
I really don't. I think I've really investigated it too.
Yeah.
Like I've gone to therapy and I'm sort of like, how did I dodge this bullet? Like,
although I think most artists are inherently a bit narcissistic.
well,
I
I've
think you
always
have
struggled to be an artist only. Like that's my thing is I've
Right.
always sort of gone, I've seen the dark side of the narcissist, of the artist, and then the children come second and the partner comes third, and you know, when it's just about your career and your schedule and everything else is like a detail.
Yeah.
How damaging that is. And there are so few artists, whether it be actors or musicians, that I really respect their lifestyle, like the way they've handled their lives in the public eye and like the order they've sort of done things in. And I think I've always been very nervous about messing with the order of my life, you know,
Right.
and sort of like, even now my manager will, she will amen this. I like struggle with the idea of going on tour.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's 8. I can't leave him. You know,
Right.
like, can I bring him with me? Like, maybe, but that's not going to make me like a really hot ticket. You know, like we got to wait till spring break, like spring break or Christmas break. Or
Yeah.
And how does that sound to you when they say hot ticket? Are you like, I don't care?
I've never
Or-
really cared.
I mean,
That's the
so
problem.
that's a struggle then.
Yeah, it's
and,
a
like, doing what
struggle.
you're
I
doing
want to
to
just like, well,
make
when I was a
music.
kid, my mom would ask me to sing because she thought I had a good voice. And I would turn my back or go hide in the bathroom, close the door, and then I would sing.
Oh,
like
yeah?
she'd ask me to sing to like at the dinner party or like friends who would come over. And I thought it was horrible. I hated it, but I loved singing.
Yeah.
I just couldn't.
And you did choose to go to school for it. Like
I
you were
did.
pursuing it as a kid.
Yeah, I love that I could go to school and sing all day instead of take math. And I ended up going to LaGuardia where I had to do academics and my major, and I ended up getting kicked out in junior year because I was failing in everything but doing really well in music but flunking everything else.
Was that around the time when Mark Ronson swooped you up?
No,
was before.
Mark.
That would have been a good
That
time.
would have been, yeah.
Kicked out of school the next day, Mark Ronson just
No, yeah, that would have been great. What happened? Mark saw me play at pianos right when pianos opened with my friend Jordan, and it was Domino, the band, and before that I had played like places like Joe's Pub and like the Bitter
Joe's Pub is
End or
a
something
great
horrible.
venue.
Joe's Pub was great.
Yeah.
I played it when I was 16.
Yeah.
It's very fancy
That-
for a
that's,
16-year-old.
I know, it was really like a thing.
So it was a duo?
No, Joe's Pub was a band I got together just to play my songs, like hired guys.
So you were writing at 16 and
yeah.
had your own band.
Yeah, and then someone was interested in me through that show. I think his name was what was his name? He did like all the Shaka Khan records, and he's like an 80s producer. Anyway, he loved my voice, and him and his wife signed me to their little label, and were like sending cars to pick me up from my mum's house. And I remember feeling like, this is
It
so
didn't
weird.
feel good even
no,
then.
I'm like, I'll walk there, thanks. I don't know why. I just have a problem with, I don't know, a lot of attention. I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
How did your parents feel about that?
They loved it.
Yeah.
I
Both
have
of them?
those I have those parents
Yeah,
that
okay.
would love me to be well known for my art.
Uh-huh.
They didn't care that I didn't get like great grades in school, or it was
Right.
really about sort of being seen.
Because they knew that, or they felt that art was your thing.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
But
if
that's what
you're-
parents do. They're like, oh, that my son or my daughter is
Right,
really
sure.
good at that
No,
thing.
but that's-
So you're going to do that thing for the rest of your life.
But
That's
only
very
if they
fortunate.
like that thing
yeah,
that they're
right,
good at.
exactly. Normally it's
That's
like,
true.
how
I
are you
have
going
to
to live?
say, thank
How are you
you.
going to make
Yeah.
a living at that? Even though you're great at it.
Yeah.
Like, how do they feel about you being a doula?
For the first 3 years, they thought it was very, honorable and like sort of, my dad was very proud. Once my dad came to my office and he saw all the babies' pictures on the walls that I'd been there for. And he said, this is better than any platinum record or any gold record or whatever. And I was like crying, obviously. I was like, you see me. And then awesome. My mom, she's going to hate this and she'll never hear this, but it's fine. Maybe.
I'm going to email it to her.
She struggled. The New York Times did an article on doulas and I was featured. And that's when she started liking
really
what I did. Or being proud of it, or understanding it. You know, before that, she was like...
The world you know is the world you want your child to be.
And I don't... It's just, you know, I'm sort of trying to carve out a different path, you know, for my son. It's like, I see that he's good at all these things, but I'm not going to sort of, you know, give him that role to play, you know?
Totally. Well, were you actually on tour with your dad? Like, would you be on the tour bus? And
only like in the summers. I love them because the tour buses have those little bunks, and they like fit me. And I was like, oh, this is like
they're made for children more than for adults.
Right.
And then I imagined him sleeping in those bunks, and I was just like, whoa, like how do you do this?
Yeah,
like for months on end.
Right. But like would you be alone on tour with him, or was did you have your sisters there and your mom and
he would like take a different kid, like depending on our holiday.
Yeah.
It was like a lucky thing.
Yeah. It was really fun. I mean, also Bad Company and Free, Free was before my time, but going to a Bad Company show in America, it's like, it's so full on. It's like mullets and Budweiser and hairy backs and like
I don't feel like a foreign country.
Yeah, I'm just like, you know, but so fun to see my dad up there. And
but the glamour part of it didn't entice you. You didn't say, oh, I want to be on this giant stage and having these adoring fans and all of that wasn't part of it.
No.
Yeah.
If anything, it was tough because touring took my dad away.
Right.
So I would go on tour and be like, this is what you leave us for every week? It's just like screaming fans. Like, I'll scream at you. Like, what do you need? You know, but you tell that to, like, I was going on tour at like 10.
Yeah.
And my brain just couldn't like absorb like, you know, his two worlds.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean,
so I'm sure it has an effect on how I view touring today.
Well, you and from what I understand of Jemima, I don't know about Lola as much, but at least you two definitely seem like reluctant stars, you know? Yeah. And that's always Jemima's story is like she got pulled into doing girls and she never wanted to act. And I know she's an artist, an amazing artist, and that seemed like more of a choice that she's made in her life. Definitely. But you guys did this amazing job of receiving the gifts from your parents without like misunderstanding what to do with that, you know?
Yeah.
So they at least did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, so how do you feel about the new album? Are you feeling reluctant about that?
No, I'm so excited. It's the first record I've finished. I always did, as I said, EPs and sort of didn't have time, didn't know how to fit this sort of thing into my life.
How many songs on it?
It's 11 songs.
Okay.
So yeah, it feels really good. And Carriage House, my Doula collective, Carriage House Birth, is at a place where I can leave it now. Yeah. So it feels like the timing's great. And I'm really proud of the songs, like the people I wrote with, Luke Temple, who's playing with us today. And Joan Wasser was like a very big influence on me and happened to be like a great friend. So writing this record with them was like such a privilege.
Yeah. And you got to stay local, right?
Yep. We did it in Hudson and in Hudson's Prospect Park. Yeah.
Nice. Amazing. Are you ready to be vulnerable on stage again? And
yes. I mean,
you'll
definitely.
be ready. But now you just have to be you. You don't have to be anybody else.
Yeah, exactly. And the songs really feel like they carry me. Like before, I felt like I had to sort of put it on, and this just feels like, you know, very intimate. And
I read you describe the difference between sort of being a doula, which is like this act of service and giving, and being a musician, which is more of an act of selfishness. And I think that's like a perpetual kind of struggle for an artist where, you know, you want to be doing this thing. How much is it a service to people? Because I think different artists have different feelings about like, oh, well, I'm giving something that's going to be healing or, you know, somehow a gift in different ways, but it's hard to reckon with that because you really, I mean, it's a narcissistic act to.
I talked to my husband about this, Penn. He was on Gossip Girl, and sometimes people pull him aside and say, you don't understand, like Gossip Girl got me through the hard times. I'm like, how did Gossip Girl get anyone through any hard times? And he said,
like comfort food.
Like he said he met a woman once on the train or something. She said, I was in law school and studying, or she was a doctor in medical school, and she would put on Gossip Girl and it would like calm her down, or like space, like open up her, like create space in her brain that she could like breathe and like get back to where she really was, instead of all this studying and just feeling constantly overwhelmed. And she thanked him, and he like didn't know what to do with it. He was like, he's so used to people just wanting a photograph or a selfie, or like people like walking with their husbands and then just grabbing pen and being like, take a picture with me. So he felt, and he said that's similar to like, you know, what I sort of struggle with music. Like, I'm just playing songs, like what is that really doing for anyone, you know? And like, I think when the songs are coming from that place, it, you know, in you, that where you feel like it is an act of service, like I'm telling you a story that I, you know, maybe I got through something, or maybe my voice has an effect on you in some way and maybe takes you out of your life for a minute. Like it is an act of service. And that's something I'm sort of getting more used to feeling and thinking about music.
That's great.
That's great.
Yeah. And your voice does,
so I can do
that.
It more.
It really, and
Thank
your
you.
lyrics and the entire, I mean, it's completely stripped down. It's like you and guitar, and what else is there?
It's a lot of stuff in there, but it's very
it's like
minimal.
a lot of ambient, it's very minimal and super soothing.
Thank you.
And then at the same time, I want to like focus in and listen to the lyrics, and especially, you know, I imagine it's a lot of stories about this. I mean, the experience that you're going through as a doula must be the most fertile place, pun intended, to
I think that was intended.
to fertile ground for
Yeah.
songwriting. I mean, it's like
I wrote
the entire universe.
Luke and I wrote, like he told me I lost my grandparents like 1 year after the next, and lots of loss in my life in the past 5 years. And Luke was like, just write down, like just write essays about your life and your grandfather passing and who he was, and just write and send me what you write. And I just sent him just almost journal entries, and then he sort of sifted through, and he'd arrange songs, like a format out of what I sent him, and then we'd meet up and come up with melodies. And so it was a very like cathartic, it was awesome. I mean, it literally, he took journal and like pages out of my journal and made them into songs. And
the
like,
best to have a partner that you can work with in that way.
No, he's the fact that I get to play with him today is such a treat. It's just such a treat.
That's awesome.
No, it's beautiful. I put it on this weekend to listen to and think about this podcast, and I was going to multitask and do both those things, and then I ended up just putting down my laptop, and I just laid on my couch and listened to the album. I was like, this is really nice. Yeah, it's amazing.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, so Beyond Waves is what it's called, if we haven't said that this whole time. Out August 25th. Yeah. So there you go, guys. Check it out when it comes out. And you're doing a Facebook Live performance.
Yes.
So you guys can see that on our Facebook page. And this podcast will be on YouTube. Well, that's where you're watching it right now if you're watching us. But if you're just listening to it, you can also watch it on YouTube. All right, Domino, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.